Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We have only 30 minutes, and we're going to try to keep it to time, so I'm going to move very quickly, and I'll also move quickly with you. I hope you won't mind. So the subject of discussion is that this is about the AI edition, and how, in which ways is AI making the biggest impact in in creation and content marketing. That's what the subject is about. At the end of 29 minutes and 30 seconds, I hope you'll have a somewhat better sense of what impact AI is having. So normally I would, in a longer session, I would keep it very structured, but I'm going to move quickly with this. So I'm going to ask, let me start with you, Sambit. If you had to mention two ways in which AI has, to your mind, impacted content marketing the most, what would it be? Just briefly.
I think primarily what it has done, I think two ways immediately what comes to my mind is the celerity or the quickness with which you can go to market with content.
Speed.
The speed,
right?
And the quantity of it. So you can churn out, whether it is text, images, video, whatever it is, you can churn out fast, much more stuff quicker than ever before, and much more than ever before.
Wow, that's what's up. So volume and speed.
Volume and speed, which was not possible before. I think earlier, I think we were limited by human limitations, but with AI to augment creativity, that is what is being impacted the most, volume and speed.
Wonderful. Namit, from where you stand and in the business that you are in, what are the two things that you think in which AI has impacted content marketing the most?
I think two most important things I would say is one is getting of insights which were not available earlier, and then making them actionable. So you get things faster, quicker, you get more robust things. At the same time, you get intelligence on top of those things that can make the job much more easier for the end consumer. How to implement that information into knowledge, into actionable insights, and finally getting more out of that.
That's very interesting, because now we've got four ways in which AI is impacted, and none of them are repeats yet. So Karan makes it harder for you now.
Personalization at scale.
Personalization at scale.
There was always this big divide that you could either do personalization, but in small quantities, small volumes, slowly, one step at a time, or you could have a completely non-personalized email, non-personalized message going out to 1,000 people, right? And then one slowly got into a place where, at least from something which is completely random, you could at least put a dear so-and-so name in the email.
Sure.
And the rest of the email was same. Now you've come to a stage where you can actually create the body of the email with 1,000 different iterations for 1,000 different people to be sent out at the same time. So that level of personalization was impossible before what's happening right now with AI. I think for me that, and besides, of course, the fact the speed to market or speed to consumers.
Can I, just interrupt here for a minute? One of the things about personalization is, it's fantastic, right? But on the other hand, I think the consumer also gets used to AI. It's a way of understanding, oh, I think this one has come off a server, right? So that sense of when personalization is done, how do you get away from the robotic aspect of it, as it were?
The robotic aspect, I'm looking at it the other way around. I'm saying that if I have database of 1,000 people, and for each of those 1,000 people, at a mass level, I have data on what kind of vocabulary and what kind of words they either write or talk most of the time. So people who are published authors, for example, right? There's a certain style to the writing, there's a certain tone to the writing. Now, if as a brand, I want to send out an email to them, and I can create that email using some of the vocabulary that they use, the style of writing that they have, and somebody reaches out to me saying, it'll suddenly sound more familiar to me. And when it starts sounding familiar to me, I'll have a positive disposition to that message being coming through.
Good.
So it's not just about dear and brackets may inserting your name, dear Karan. now at least 25% of the email body copy is also in a language in which how Karan speaks and talks.
Okay. Gaurav?
AI actually started, and I'm going to give my personal thoughts on this, started as an experimentation and more around creative experimentation around this. And I think one of the benefits, one clear benefit is about the inspiration that the marketers get by using AI. I think a combination of using human creativity along with AI, it just amplifies it. That's one benefit. Number two, and even with the experimentation, the experience has been that while scale and, personalization, automation, all is there, I think there is a significant savings on cost. As a marketer, you want every dollar to work for you. And with AI, you are able to do that. You are actually able to demonstrate that you are able to do more with less out over there. So that's, my kind of two takeaways from it.
One of the things, now I'll just open it to anybody, and if anybody can respond. I have a list of questions I'd like to ask, but one thing I want to ask you is, as the volume of communication rises, okay, when you look at now you say old days, which is television, which is hardly old days, but it has reached a point where you say old days for television. I mean, you worked in a great agency, you worked towards that one big commercial or that campaign, etc. Now, you just have, instead of these peaks, you have these little things that go, pieces of communication that are going out all the time. So how do you try, or to what extent can you control the quality of it? Or how do you, has your expectation changed?
That's a good question, Aizen. Does quality suffer at the altar of quantity?
Correct.
Right?
Logically, it would, right?
It does right now, because ultimately, as Karan was also saying, right now you are extrapolating from huge amounts of data to try and understand what is an individual's makeup like, and you're trying to talk to that individual in a way that feels personal and not impersonal, right? But yes, we are in a world where we are in an attention deficit economy where our attention is being demanded by 100,000 things from 100,000 screens, right? So in keeping that context in mind, how do you create content that is engaging and absorbing? That will always be the challenge today, tomorrow, and forever. And that is not easy, because I think that is where, to use a very cliched word from creativity, storytelling comes into play. Because all content at the end of the day is a great story well told.
Okay, sure.
Right? So unless you are telling that story in a manner which is captivating, you're going to lose me. Because I'm just not interested in it. And if I'm not interested in it, doesn't matter how many times you throw it at me, it's just not going to stick.
I have to just interrupt to tell you a story. When we were kids, and my mother wanted us to keep quiet, she would always say in Marathi, if you talk too much, you'll talk nonsense, okay? So talk less, okay? So the thing is, but brands now communicate so much. It's very difficult to, so again, I mean, to any of you, is AI used more for the more mundane tasks? Is that what it is more used for?
So I'll just go on to that, and I'll just give another view to what my friend just said here. See, what's also happening is, because you're now being able to inject a certain vocabulary into generative engines. The paid version of ChatGPT 4, for example, you start feeding in data, it'll start throwing out content which is as per your tone and as per your vocabulary. So from a brand guardrail point of view, if I can get my tone and vocabulary right, then I can generate 50 pieces of content and 50 pieces of social media posts within 30 seconds, which otherwise would have taken me 3 days.
Sure.
Yeah?
Sure.
So I'm not entirely sure. Now, of course, certain hygiene checks need to happen, because it's still a learning algorithm, right? But I don't think with speed now you need to compromise on quality. I think that was a perspective of yesteryears. As you keep feeding in good content to the engine, that engine will automatically keep your vocabulary and tone in mind while throwing out 30 pieces of content.
Okay.
So I think that erstwhile dichotomy of speed versus quality, or quantity versus quality, I think is already getting challenged, and as we go forward, it'll be challenged even more.
But so Namit, to you, the thing is that as everybody ups the volume, or this, the volume of content coming out, the consumer is one, but each of us can spew more and more, right? What do you see as the challenge as a marketer then? Because your rivals are also doing this, you're doing it, other B2B brands are doing it. So what do you see as the challenge in the use of AI effectively in content marketing?
I think there are some guiding principles which we all need to follow in terms of getting any content out of AI. One is the accuracy. So being effective doesn't mean that you bombard people with content. You have to have a balance of content. I think it's very important, at least in our industry, to have the right content, to have the guardrails in place, to verify what we are posting, especially the statistics, the dates, any numbers. Also, how are you capturing that data? Are you making it publicly available that whatever you have posted there is through a particular database? Is it open sourced? That is very important. And at the end of the day, speed and the frequency of material which you are posting, which you are getting on the platforms is important. But again, every report can't be a blockbuster. If you are posting something, so you have to, I think the beauty of AI is it can balance between the speed and really detailed tasks. For example, if you're really interested in a report, you can get in a fraction of a few minutes, you can get all the content for that. Now invest that time to actually dedupe that data, cross-verify that data, the statistics, the tone, see that there is no toxicity, there is no biasness, and the relevance for the larger audience. Whoever is the target audience, what is the relevance for that person? Why would that person be interested in that particular content piece? Rather than just, following a unilateral process of pushing it to the people. Because it will just work in short term, but not in the long run. You have to be different than others.
I just have a different perspective. And maybe if everyone starts using AI and generate a lot of content around. Sorry, am I audible? Yes, okay, all right. So I was saying that if everyone starts using AI and create, volume of content out over there, I think there's one challenge which will happen in near future, which is the content saturation. People will not be able to differentiate between one brand to another. To that extent that the authenticity that is, is expected out of the content coming through will kind of go away. The only advantage, the marketers will have are the ones who are early adopters who can utilize it and then kind of move in a very different direction. That is how I see this kind of happening if everyone starts using AI for all the mundane activities out there.
So, one thing is, Sambit, to you, but also to the others, when you look at the way in which AI has worked, see, we all know that we are in the infancy of AI. I mean, I always think this is the way, if you look at Google, the way Google was when it was 3 years old, AI is at that stage. I mean, that time we used to be amazed at what Google can find, but look at what Google can do today, okay? So clearly, if we were sitting here later, a year, 2 years, 5 years later, we'd be talking about something else, right? Quite something else. So one of the things I want to ask you is that in which format, whether it's text, it's images, it's video, it's audio, in where has AI impacted more and where less? By the way, it's to all of you, so you can please join in at any point.
I think text-wise, of course, the way ChatGPT came in like almost like it was like a volcano. It was like Krakatoa exploding and sort of changing the Earth's atmosphere for years. I mean, if I were to sort of give a off-the-top analogy. So I think the most tangible outcome of it has been in text. But of course, from text to images, where we are seeing a lot of changes happening is with AIs like Mid-Journey and all coming in. In fact, a lot of our work is being, I would say, becoming slightly easier, especially for art directors, because of AI software like Mid-Journey, which is text to image, right? But I think text to video is where the challenge is. I think Sora is coming in, And but we are, I think, as you said, it is still very nascent right now. But the pace at which it is learning and things are growing is absolutely mind-boggling. So maybe 3 years, 4 years from now, we may be sitting on this platform, and a lot of businesses would be out of business because of the way it has evolved. In fact, earlier this year, just to give you a small example.
Let's not think too much about it, you know.
You never know, because we did our first AI-based film from McCann for Air India for Holi. And it would typically be a film which would have taken at least 4 weeks to produce, 5 odd weeks to sort of get with post-production and all get into place. And it would have cost like, say, I'm just throwing a figure here, like say 50 lakhs, right? But it happened at half the cost, with absolutely no shoot involved, with completely, you know, of course we had a production house to do it for us, which specialized with this, generating videos out of text.
Correct.
But we got it done. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Things are happening. They may be happening at a very slow pace right now, but the pace at which, it's like a tsunami, you know, you feel that, you know, nothing much is happening until the wave comes and crashes in.
What about all of you? I mean, is it more text? Is it images, video?
So I think for most mundane tasks, and especially I think when you look at digital SEO, a lot of work is happening on tech side of it. But if you ask me the question, where is the most interesting stuff happening? I think that's happening in videos only. That I agree with Sambit. And the brands are using it in many interesting ways out over there. Whether you look at something called as True Fans, which collaborated with Zomato, and where you could actually get an actor to give wishes to your customers, etc. and all. Or Shah Rukh Khan advertising for Cadbury's out
that
over
is
there.
fabulous, yeah.
And these are some interesting use cases where at scale and in a creative way, you've used AI out over there. So that's where, I think the application is.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
So on video, I'll just quickly share this because I have to. Yesterday I was in Shillong. For about a week last 1 week I was in Shillong. And one of the things I saw video and on the lighter side, the memes. I had Donald Trump giving his victory speech in Khasi language, widely circulating all across Shillong, right? Now, I know it's something which is a small thing here, and it's a meme, but I'm saying it's AI enabled, right? So now, there are pluses and minuses, a long debate, good, bad, ugly, should have done. But I'm saying the fact is that video, of course, yes, is how, AI kind of seems to make a very strong presence, positive and negatively, because a lot of it could be malicious content as well.
Sure.
But the other place where I think AI also makes very interesting use case scenarios is I have seen, and I have used it myself, people uploading Excel sheets into AI tools. Excel sheets. Sometimes multiple sheets in the same file. And the AI engine gives you an analysis of the data that you've inputted through those Excels. Right? That's the level at which it's already working, something that we are calling right now as nascent. Right?
Yeah,
So never mind simple proof checking of Grammarly and simple copywriting of something else, or simple video tools and Canva, and you can make good presentations. People are actually putting in Excel sheets after Excel sheets and getting analysis out of it.
Actually, one very interesting thing that's happened is that I think ChatGPT is like maybe 2 or 3 years old, that it became public. I mean, it may have been undercover before, but you think about it, it's been there for 24 or 30 months, right? And it is not, the changes are not happening in linear fashion. Ki pehle text hoga, fir this will happen. That the fact is, just look at the stuff we are discussing here. All of this stuff is happening all together, and in just 24, 30 months. It is really quite extraordinary. Namit, how do you see it? Is it most, isn't text analysis? Where do you use it most?
So first of all, I would like to thank you for putting up the Excel point. So please use Salesforce. We have Einstein tool, which helps get all your data in place and getting intelligence out of that. So you can connect with me, and I can explain it more to you.
This is where the tagline comes, may the Salesforce be with you.
And, but yeah, really, as you said, it's democratizing the intelligence flow, the coming of the information from every source of the word. And the beauty is it's not one company which is dominating it. It's the power in the hands of the user.
Absolutely right.
And a user who is not technologically very versed, or a user who is not having a very detailed information about something, but still that person can use it to his effect the way he wants, from the public sources, so there is the data which is there, and there is a model, and there is a UX. The person gets to choose the UX, and of course there are models which the enterprises are choosing, and then there is the data which is available, and which is making all that layer, all that important and intelligent for that particular user. So I think everyone is getting benefits out of it, but as we evolve, I would not say it's going to replace. I think we are going to humanize AI. So it's a coexistence of humans with AI, because we have created AI, it's not created us.
I think if I were to sort of, that's a very interesting point. I think that's the biggest shift. In fact, I read this phrase, which is in currency in this world today. It's called innovation democratization. Okay. That's what AI, for anybody in this room, no one is a specialist anymore. I think all of us have this tool at our hands which augments our creativity, which augments our thinking, and that's where I think AI really plays a stellar role. That the more you use it, the more it adapts itself and becomes better at what it does. Right?
One thing that's really hit me about AI, so I use ChatGPT, of course, and I use this platform called Perplexity, which has been set up by an Indian. It's become multi-billion.
As a search engine.
Yeah, fabulous. And I realized, I knew this before, but I was talking in office just yesterday or today about this. I've suddenly become more aware of the power of the question. Earlier, if you did not know something, you didn't even know where to find it. Now you know where to find it, but as they would say in Hindi, sawal kya hai? So the more precise you are with the question, the more powerful it becomes. And I think this must be true in any form of AI, because if your question is muddled, by the way, I'll tell you one really interesting thing. There is research, and it has been done across across China, Britain, USA, etc. 3, 4, 5 countries, and one of the big research firms. AI has got so humanized because of the way it has learned language and nuance. If you ask it a rude question, it may give you a bullshit answer. Okay? So if you are polite with it and your question is framed clearly, it'll answer clearly in exactly the way you want. But you're rude to it, it'll say, I don't need to deal with this guy. Yeah, sorry.
It's already sentient.
It's already sentient. So one of the things I want to return to is this thing about creativity, okay? What are the specific, when we say that, you can get better creativity at scale, okay? What are the ways typically in which we are using it today?
Oh, that was meant for me.
It could be anybody. Now it's open up.
Yeah, I think I would.
You're the ad guy, so I thought.
Yeah, I've given you an example already with how we have used it for Air India, right?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah. But my point is that,
if you could be more specific, then.
No, so the thing is that if you look at creative communication in any form, so be it in word, in image, in different ways on social media. So I'm not defining it so well. But when we say that, listen, you can get you can get a lot of the regular stuff done by AI, one, okay? But B, can we also use it to improve our creativity at higher frequency? So I'm saying scale.
Okay, okay, should I attempt?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, all right. I'll give you a very interesting example. I come from, I work with a life insurance company. And typically, life insurance is very boring, very difficult to understand and all. And the written text does not, go well with the customers and all. Now, what we've started doing, and something which you see evolving, is that you can create these bite-sized videos using AI avatars. So the explanation of, difficult terms, explanation of how a product works, explanation of, what to do when you are, have a problem with your policy. All of that has become, a part of what AI can do for you. So these videos you can create at scale. It becomes easier. You can distribute it at scale.
That's a great idea. But how short are these shorts?
So typically, to kind of do this activity, you just need to put one-time effort. create an avatar, and then you can put a script around, and the avatar can actually pretty much explain that in.
Sure, but I mean, these would be, how long would these be? 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute?
This will be like 30 seconds, 1 minute kind of
sure.
videos
No,
out.
but that's a very interesting, aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, one thing I want to turn to, which is that because of the coming of AI, how has it affected the content creation and marketing teams? And at the HR level, what has this meant? Are we using agencies more? Are you using them less? Is more being done inside? Are we needing different types of people now to create content? What has happened, let's say, in Salesforce?
So I would say there's not been too much of change as of now because it's still in evolution. What has changed is, and you made a very, very pertinent point, it's about asking the right questions. I think now a lot of questions are being asked at every level. People have started, they are now understanding the power of a question. What is the relevance of why am I doing this? So I think that is becoming increasingly imbibed in the teams and in the culture at every level. And people are more inquisitive. They want to understand the customer better because they know, and like my fellow panelists said, they also have to differentiate themselves. It can't be the same answer, it can't be the same kind of appeal to that person who is the target audience, because target audience would be same for so many people, so many organizations. You have to be different. And that element of difference would come from the thinking and from asking the right question and also, making a human attempt and making it relevant. So I think as of now, we have not seen too much of a change happening there. Although some of the mundane tasks, they have been, I would say, automated, or they have been, made quicker through the help of AI. But like I mentioned, the checks, the balances, how you revalidate the data, how you make sense of it, and finally, what you are going to show to the customer. I think all that, the process has not changed too much so far.
Okay. What about you, Karan?
So one point I just want to quickly make is, being an expert at asking the right question, or a prompt manager, if I can call it, is a very essential skill in the days of ChatGPT. Because every word in that question that you ask makes changes in the kind of answer the machine is giving back to you.
Correct.
Right? That's point number one. Point number two, I think I love writing. I keep publishing some stuff or the other. I use a lot of ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. I keep making all these three fight with each other. I ask the same question to all three and see who gives me what kind of answers.
That's very interesting.
Okay? So where it helps me a lot is structuring an outline to a piece that I want to write. So it gives me a good outline on a complicated subject, what should be the sections on which I should focus, etc. So I think it helps structure thinking as well when you're using some of these tools from a writing point of view. And finally, I think to the point you asked on people, you will need less people. You will need less people to do more work. You will need less people to do more work, which is the existing work. Now it is for people to figure out whether they want to reskill themselves or not. And one of my favorite, indulge me for another minute, one of my favorite examples is when the mixie grinder had not come, everybody used to piso masalas with their hands, right, with the silvatta, right? Then the mixie came, you didn't start, your dadi or granddadi maybe felt cheated for a while, but she said, oh, मैं जो अपने हाथ से पीसती हूँ, उसका स्वाद अभी भी अलग है.
Correct.
But you didn't start competing with the mixie, no? The mixie is eventually taking away and grinding the masala. Or when you're whisking eggs, you can beat eggs with a fork or with a blender, right? So don't compete with AI. Use it as a companion to free up some of your normal time and use that time to create a new recipe or to innovate something else. If our problem is that whatever we don't understand, we take it as a threat. As humans,
which I guess is
so I'm saying befriend it, utilize it, free up time and do something more and upskill yourself.
Absolutely, I think
on the agency side?
On the agency side, exactly, I think that's where, as I said, it augments your creativity in ways that you had not imagined. And which is why, rather than seeing it as a threat, and I'm not Nostradamus to peer into the future
sure,
and
sure.
say that what is it going to evolve to be like. But the way it is right now, it is more of a fantastic tool at your disposal,
Sure.
which adapts itself to your way of working and
Absolutely.
thinking
Sure.
more than anything else.
Yeah.
I can see the difference it makes, especially for people who are like not just thinkers, like copywriters in an ad agency, but also the art directors who used to slog for days over creating a layout on Photoshop, which used to, at the end of it, look far from finished. But thanks to AI now, which is gleaning that information from millions of images from around the World Wide Web, and with the right prompts, of course, it is making that job a lot easier for them, than it was earlier.
Sure.
And we are actively encouraging it also, because the more you work with it, the more refined, the more honed the creative output is going to be. That is something that we are seeing.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm sure it will only get better with time,
Sure.
as with all things.
Gaurav?
Yeah, so I feel that it's happening at 3 levels with brands who are trying to kind of embrace AI. Number one, when they're evaluating agencies, that time it has become one of the evaluation parameter that what is your skill sets on AI, what have you done before, can you bring frugality and scale with that. Number two, it's already kind of people have implemented, and I think so is happening in my organization, that we are actually giving enough weightage for people to reskill themselves on AI as a part of their performance management. So you may be a marketer, but there is a KPI for you to do some projects on that. Number three, there is basically specialized consultants, which are now kind of working to kind of turn around, marketing teams and digital teams to become more AI oriented and, see how they are impacting their KPIs out over there. I think this is what is the change.
Great, that's very precise. We've actually run out of time, so I'm going to just ask one last question, and in one sentence. If we were sitting here 2 years later, what would we be discussing? Same subject, same panelists. I'm going to start with you.
I think it will be about how do you become more human and embrace more, real creativity with, authentic creativity instead of AI. I think that's what the panel discussion is going to be.
One.
How AI has impacted modern medicine and increased longevity of life. We would be beyond discussing things like copywriting and creative writings.
Chalo, okay. Namit?
I think creating impact with brevity.
Creating impact?
With brevity.
Very interesting. Okay. Sambit?
To my mind, the debate would be something which is not a debate right now. You can make out the difference between what is created by, at least in terms of the tangible output and creative that we see at least I get to see on a day-to-day basis. You immediately know what has been created by AI and what has not. I think 2 years later, the difference may be imperceptible. And maybe that's what we would be debating. Has a human created this, or has AI created it?
Oh, great, yeah. By the way, I said 31 minutes ago that I hope at the end of 30 minutes, you will have a better sense of what are the issues and how AI is being used in the content space. And if you would like to please engage with them off stage, please do so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.